2 years, there was a lot of revelations about how journalists have been spied on. I was also a victim of surveillance with the Israeli Pegasus spyware. I was also investigating surveillances in Hungary, where I'm a journalist based in Budapest. But then it was discovered that also in Greece, another type of spyware predator was used. Is that although it was debated a lot in public, but still the new European Media Freedom Act that's right now being drafted, it's not final. The journalists can still be legally surveilled under the grounds of national security. So the very first draft of this Media Freedom Act would have imposed a total ban on surveilling journalists, which is something that I obviously support, not just because of my case, but because of all my colleagues from all around Europe. But now it seems that certain member states, such as France, Germany, the Netherlands, Czech Republic and Greece, would like to have an exemption. They would like journalists, they would like to have the legal ability to surveil journalists if there's a national security justification for that. Now, problem with that is that a lot of less democratic countries with governments with authoritarian tendencies can abuse this justification. For example, in my case, I was surveilled on grounds of national security because I work for outlets that receive foreign funding. The Hungarian government copy-pasted this Russian law that essentially tries to discriminate against foreign-funded NGOs and media outlets, and also they can just make up any kind of suspicion that maybe I'm buying too much kebab, and the kebab seller is linked to the Taliban, so I could be financing terrorism, and they can surveil me for 7 months. I was surveilled for 7 months. So that's the problem with the current status. I was part of as a journalist, and also this leaked database of 50,000 phone numbers. This was leaked to Forbidden Stories, this Paris-based outlet that was leading the Pegasus project investigation. And in this leaked database, they found my phone number. This database is essentially the collection of potential targets of the Pegasus spyware. Then when they identified my phone number, they asked me to analyze, to let my phone forensically analyzed, and they confirmed the hacking. I was hacked between 2019 April and October or November that same year for a 7 months period. Every other week, the Hungarian government was checking into my phone and trying to find out stuff, very possibly about my sources, like who are those people who give me information that I use for my stories and what kind of stories I'm working on. I was pissed, but when I was first told that my phone was hacked, I really freaked out because I was fearing for my sources. So I was working on lots of sensitive stories about corruption and national security, where I have confidential sources, some of them working for the government, some of them businessmen, some of them I don't want to disclose. And I was afraid that because I communicated with them with end-to-end encrypted applications, I thought that's safe.
Okay, yeah.
But if your phone is infected, that's an end device. So if the end device is hacked, then even encrypted communication can be decrypted. We're already suing not just me, but other Hungarian victims of surveillance as well. We're suing the state. First, we try to get information about who, why, and in what time frame, with what justification surveilled us. So we want information first, but even that is refused. So we're very far from, asking for I don't know, some compensation for the damage that it did to us. We're just trying to get very basic information: which Hungarian agency surveilled us, on what basis, and even that gets refused. And when we get to the point that our court cases are thrown out by the Hungarian courts, then of course we would go to Strasbourg to the European Court of Justice. But obviously that will take years. So our main goal here is not to seek justice for ourselves, because we're well aware that under current legal framework that's impossible. We want to keep the pressure on the government, and we want to force them to change the laws regulating surveillance, to have it more transparent. For example, it would be very important that those people who are surveilled, including journalists, who after the surveillance are not getting prosecuted, meaning that the surveillance didn't collect any kind of information about possible wrongdoing or crime that was committed by that person. So if there's no prosecution, then those people should be notified that they were under surveillance. So at least we can have the information which we can use to go to court and sue them, and possibly to get more information about why it's happening. And this would have a restrictive effect. So if the governments knew that they could get sued, if they knew that their targets would later be notified, then probably they would be more careful with surveillance.
Mm-hmm. And you were 6 citizens of Hungary that were surveillanced? Or?
So in this leaked database we have more than 350 Hungarian phone numbers from a specific time frame from 2018 to 2019. But we already know that the surveillance continued until at least 2021. We identified at least 6 journalists and reporters, including photojournalists, who were surveilled, at least 3 media company owners who owned media that were critical of the current Hungarian government, and we also identified at least 10 lawyers, including the most senior lawyer of the country. So the Pegasus spyware in Hungary was not only used against journalists to try to uncover our confidential sources, but it was also used against lawyers, infringing the attorney-client privilege, and that's a very serious abuse, I think.
And well, do you think that it's something that governments will do more? I mean, the spywares and everything against journalism. Are they afraid of journalists?
There are countries where the governments are afraid of journalists. These are mostly the
investigative ones, maybe?
Yeah, these are mostly investigative journalists, of course. So if you're a columnist and you're writing anti-government columns, usually you're free to do that, right? Of course, but if you're investigating high-level corruption that can go as high up as the prime minister of your country, who's in charge of also the intelligence services, obviously they don't like that type of work.